evening, everyone. I'm Bette McCarthy, and I'd like to call this meeting to order of the Old Kings Highway Historic District Committee, and it's being recorded and broadcast on the Town of Barnstable, the Government Access Channel. In accordance with the Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20, the chair must inquire whether anyone else is recording this meeting, and if so, would they please let that be known? All right, thank you. So to all persons deemed interested or affected by the Town of Barnstable Old Kings Highway Historic District Act under Section 9, Chapter 470, Acts of 1973, as amended, you're hereby notified that a hearing will be held tonight on the applications listed on the agenda for January 10th, 2024. We'd like to remind applicants and audience members that we are elected volunteer committee and we follow the guidelines of the Town of Barnstable Old Kings Highway Historic District Act. And any applicant or interested party who is aggrieved by a decision that this committee makes, they have a right to appeal the decision to the Old Kings Highway Regional Historic Commission. We ask that during this evening's proceedings, all cell phones be turned off and conversations other than those before the committee take place outside of this remote meeting. When an applicant is called, we ask that the applicant and all interested parties identify themselves. And lastly, as best practices for meetings held remotely, where we may not be able to visually identify who's speaking, we ask all committee members and participants to identify themselves before making any motions or comments. Online audience members wishing to participate during the public comment section of the hearing can use the raised hand button to notify the chair. Dial-in audience members wishing to participate during the public comment section should press *9 on their phones to notify the chair. All participants will be muted and you must be notified by the chair in order to participate. So our first order of business is to take attendance. And the first person is George Jessup.
Present.
Leslie Wallace.
Here.
Ryan Caholen.
Here.
Wendy Schuck.
Here.
And Bette McCarthy here. So our first order of business this evening is election of a committee chair and clerk. So first of all, do we have any nominations for the committee chair?
I nominate Bette McCarthy for chairperson.
Ryan Caholen, I'll second that.
All right. And we have a motion and a second. All in favor, roll call vote. George Jessup.
Aye.
Leslie Wallace.
Aye.
Ryan Caholen.
Aye.
Wendy Schuck.
Aye.
And I will abstain from that. Is that correct? Yes.
Oh, we've got enough
Okay.
votes.
All right. Now, do we have any nominations for the committee clerk? This is Bette McCarthy, and I would like to nominate Wendy Schuck to be the committee clerk for the Old Kings Highway for 2024.
Ryan Caholen, I'll second that.
Thank you. And then a roll call vote. George Jessup.
Aye.
Leslie Wallace.
Aye.
Ryan Caholen.
Aye.
Wendy Schuck.
I'll abstain.
And Bette McCarthy, aye. So we have our officers set for 2024. So Our first application this evening is for Patricia Chesnakis of 18 Kevaney Lane, Barnstable, map 351, parcel 028, built in 1966, to construct an addition above an existing sunroom. We now need to open a public hearing for this application.
I move we open a public hearing for this application.
I'll second. Second.
And a roll call vote. George Jessup.
Aye.
Leslie Wallace.
Aye.
Ryan Caholen.
Aye.
Wendy Shuck.
Aye.
And Beth McCarthy. Aye. So would the applicant like to discuss their project?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Bill Fonashari from BF Architects in Plymouth. What we're looking to do is add a second floor on an existing one-story sunroom at the rear of the property. The drawings are pretty self-explanatory what we're looking to do. There are two options. I know the commission guidelines discourages for roof pitches less than 7 and 12. However, if we do the 7 and 12 pitch on this addition, it may be visible from the street. So we've provided a second option with a 5 and 12 pitch on the roof so that it's not visible from the street in the front. All the materials will match existing. All paint colors and material colors will match existing as well.
All
Sorry to
right.
interrupt. This is Erica Brown. Kate, can you give me permission to share my screen so I can share the materials?
Yes, of course. I apologize.
Thanks.
Which is the addition? Just the sunroom?
Just the sunroom, yes, and the connecting piece to the main house.
Now you want to keep it below the roof pitch of the connecting piece? Is that what I heard you say?
No, the addition in the back originally we had planned with a 7-12 pitch per the commission guidelines. If we do the
Yes.
7 and 12 pitch, it puts it slightly above the ridge of the main house and may be visible from the street. So after to speak to Erica, she suggested that maybe we provide another option, which would be a 5 and 12 pitch, which would put it below the ridge of the main house. So
Is that
I was just
what you're
looking for the commission's guidelines.
Excuse me, is that what you're showing here?
That's the 7 pitch.
That's the 7 pitch. Looks below the ridge to me.
The front of the house.
Oh,
Yeah, George, it would
It's a-
go right, yeah,
it's a-
right,
You'll see it from the front.
yeah.
Well,
Can you show the 5.5?
yeah, show the 5.5.
If I may, Erica,
Oh,
the
you're talking
images are coming up
second
a little bit smaller. Can you try hitting the show the full screen button in the bottom?
You said second floor. I'm looking at the first floor. My
One
apologies.
point over to
Yeah.
the left, the full screen, it may just be a little bit easier.
Perfect.
Oh.
Thank you. Good idea.
I'm guessing that you want a full flat ceiling on that second floor, correct?
Yes, we do.
Is there any reason why you don't want to clip it so that you can drop the plate?
They're just looking for the full, full ceiling height across the second floor.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
The reason we're doing this addition is Patricia is the homeowner. Her daughter is moving in with her as her caretaker, and she's going to use this second floor room as her living space.
I
Mom will
understand. Do
be
you know
on-
what I mean by clipping?
Yeah, yes.
Where you
It's something I can.
where you have the plate height that's less than the full ceiling height, so that the windows are set just a little lower, but you're on the second floor, so you can work at the head of the ceiling of the head. Excuse me, the head of the window at 6'8", but the plate might be less than the 7'4" code requirement for ceiling height. You could probably go 7 feet with the plate, and then you might be able to work more than a 512 pitch. I'm not really upset with the 512 on the back of the house, but it's a way to work a steeper pitch and match up. Well, you have that dormer, and you see where you have your wall plate for the dormer. If you had that and then clip the ceiling, you would probably have full ceiling height to within, say, 18 inches of the outside wall. So
I'm
even
not opposed
standing
to it at
there,
all.
you know,
I wouldn't be opposed to it.
How does that affect your roof pitch? Have you looked into that? How does that affect your roof pitch?
If we drop the plate, yeah, we could go back to the 712 pitching, stay below the ridge line of the main house. Absolutely.
Is that something that the owner would consider? Yeah, I think
I can
we should.
absolutely propose it to her.
Okay. We don't have another meeting this month unless we continue this one particular application. Is that correct, Kate?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes, there may not be another meeting this month.
Well, let's see how the other members of the committee feel.
And then the next meeting would be February 14th. So they would have to wait almost a month.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
If I may, the committee can certainly meet January 24th. Erica and I had just reported that there's no other items scheduled for that meeting. So we didn't receive any other applications to coordinate the legal ad for January 24th. But certainly if there's any items this evening that are continued, the committee can meet.
Well, if you're going to clip that second floor, which I think you should do, you have an established eave for the dormer. And if that's acceptable, then I would think that the clipped ceiling for this addition over the sunroom would also be acceptable. It would match the height of that, allow you to get a steeper roof pitch, and you might actually use more of that ceiling height. You raise your ceiling joist so that you might get a higher level in that to accent the clip, and especially for the living room, it would allow the 712 pitch so that it would be in conformity with the rest of the house. I believe that's a steeper pitch, is it not?
The dormer pitches on the main cape are a little less than 5 existing right now.
Yeah, what's the main cape, please?
The main cape pitch or plate?
Yeah, no, what's the main cape pitch?
It's like a 9.
I guess it might be. So you have a 5 and a 9 and a 7. You can't approach the 9. Flattening it out is an option as well, but I'd like to see the wall plate at about the same height as the dormer, and the window head at the same height as those windows.
Sure.
If those dormers are not creating a headroom problem, it would blend a lot easier and better. And what I'd like you to do is study the other ceiling height as the first floor and how that might, lowering it might affect your ceiling height there. I assume that you have more than enough ceiling height on the first floor.
The first floor ceiling is 8'6".
Oh, that's more than enough. Yes, that's a nice height. It allows you to get some good air circulation by opening double hung windows. And here again, you might go to an 8-foot ceiling height with your ceiling joists, as you don't have anything supported but attic space above it. And with the clip 6'8" or so, I don't know what your dormer plate height is, but I'm guessing it's about 6'8" or 6'6". And then with the ceiling at 8 feet or so, that gets your ceiling joist within the bottom third of your rafter roof design. So that makes that effective and code compliant. I thought I'd give you a chance to look that over and talk that over with your homeowners, and then meet with us 2 weeks from now with your answers and a revised drawing for us. Would
Sure.
you like to do that?
That'd be fine.
Okay, let me have an opinion of the other members of the commission. Thank you.
Yeah, George, I think those are good ideas. I would prefer that the peak of the addition doesn't go above, you know, the roof line of the front facing part of the house. And I do agree a steeper pitch would be better. So it would be great if you could go back and see if your client is amenable to that. But I think those are good ideas.
Yeah, it's not often thought about, and most people don't understand what a clipped ceiling is like. But a tray ceiling is the result of clipping it on 4 sides and raising the center, which
Gotcha.
is a very nice living room ceiling. I'm interested in how the architect, I didn't get your name.
That's Bill Fornashari.
Bill, okay. Is this something that you like?
This was the client's direction. So I'm a firm believer they're going to live in these spaces. So my first shot was to give the client what they wished and hope to do, but it doesn't mean I can't go back to her and, explain to her, the commission's concerns and views. I'd be happy to do that.
Okay. All right. I think she might like that, especially if she wants to put a fan in the ceiling. And then you can get above that minimum 7'4" headroom.
Yeah. What do the others think? Agree, Bet and
Well,
Leslie?
I don't have an issue with the lower pitch because this addition is on the back of the house, and I do not think that it would look all that attractive if the addition roof line was above the actual roof of the front of the house.
Mhm.
So if a modification can be made so that with George's suggestion, and we come back to the next meeting, that would be agreeable to me. I don't know, but Ryan, do you have any comments regarding this?
Can I see the front elevation again?
There isn't a front elevation, just the photo of the front of the house.
I think there was a sketch where it showed what it might look like, right? But that was a side elevation, never mind.
Yeah, it was the side
Yeah,
elevation.
yeah, it was side, yeah.
Right. So you essentially want to dormer that front above the above those 5 windows, right?
Oh, it's in the back.
Yeah,
Right.
I'd like to understand. All right, so that's what you want to lift up.
Right.
That's what we're putting a second
Right.
floor on, exactly.
Right.
And is that ridge visible from the front of the property or from the street?
That, and currently, no, you can't see anything from the front. The rear addition, you can't see anything. But if we put the second floor on it and do a 712 pitch per the commission's guidelines, you'd see a small portion of the ridge on the front elevation, but it would be set fairly far back.
Yeah. I mean, I think I agree with the commentary that we've heard from the other committee members. I would much prefer to see, well, I'd much prefer to not see the ridge addition visible from the front of the property.
Yeah, like I
Okay.
said, I have no issues redesigning this and explaining to the homeowner what the commission's direction was.
Yeah,
I don't
and
have an
think-
issue with that at all.
I think with the clipped roof, like George described, you'll be able to accomplish that, still give them the space that they're looking for so that they can accomplish what they're trying to do.
All right.
No, I'd be happy to do that.
Okay. Leslie, do you have any comments regarding this?
Yeah, I liked the idea, actually, even before I looked at pictures of the 5.5 and keep it behind and not worry about it, and a little pitch, looking from the front. I didn't like that look. But George's comments have got me thinking, and that might be the best of both worlds for your client, and hiding it, and it'll look nice, but you can't really see it from the street. So maybe that's the way to go. I think that's a good suggestion.
All right.
And your clients may like it. I mean, that might be even better for them. So if you want to propose that, go ahead. But I do like the 5.5, so if we're sticking to the original.
Okay. All right. Are there any other comments from the committee? If not, are there any comments from the public?
Sir, this is Erica Brown. I do not see anyone raising their hand to speak to the item at this time.
All right. If we're going to continue this application, should we keep the public hearing open then?
Yes.
Okay. So then we need a motion to continue this application to our next meeting.
Okay, this is Wendy Shuck, and I move to continue the certificate of appropriateness application for Patricia Chesnoskis, 18 Kevany Lane, Barnstable, map 351, parcel 028, built 1966, to January 4th at 6:30 p.m.
Point of order, January 24th.
24th, I'm sorry, January 24th,
And that'll be held remotely.
remotely, correct.
Okay. And may we have a second on that?
Ryan Caholen, I'll second.
All right. And a roll call vote. George Jessup. George.
Oh, he's muted.
Yeah.
Right, here we go. You hear me now?
Yep.
I hate to sound like a commercial. Can you hear me now?
All right. We
Hello.
can, George. Thank you.
Yes.
Leslie Wallace,
Aye.
Ryan Caholen,
Aye.
Wendy Shuck,
Aye.
Beth McCarthy, aye. So we will continue this application to the meeting on January 24th.
Thank you very much. Erica, I just have a question. When do we have to have the drawings revised back to you for the 24th?
I usually post them about a week in advance of the meeting. But since this is also just a continued item, we could probably take it by the end of next week at the very, very latest. You just want to give enough time for the committee to review the new plans.
Okay, I appreciate it. And thank the board.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, our next application is for Triple C Realty LLC, 350 Sandy Neck Road, West Barnstable, map 136, parcel 014/002, built in 1965. There are two applications here to raise the existing house and to build a new Cape-style home with a 3-car garage. May we have a motion to open a public hearing for this application?
Yep, this is Wendy Shuck, and I move to open the public hearing.
I'll
Brian
second
Cole.
Second,
that.
Leslie Wallace.
Hey, we got all three of us.
Okay, and a roll call vote on that. George Jessup,
Aye.
Leslie Wallace,
Aye.
Ryan Caholen,
Aye.
Wendy Shuck,
Aye.
and Beth McCarthy, aye. So is the applicant available to discuss their demolition and to build a new home?
Yes, I'm the applicant for the homeowner, Jennifer Barnstable. The homeowner, Don Ballou, is also here as well. I'm not sure. I can start the conversation and then he may want to jump in as well. So our application is to raise this house and build a new home in this existing spot. We are staying very similar to the footprint of the existing house, but enlarging it and adding on a carriage house garage to the side of it. We started out looking at it as renovating, and but the scope became so much that it made more sense to raise the house and replace it from a cost perspective than it did to try to make the changes and add on. And part of that was going up, raising the ceiling height, which would have impacted the rebuilding of the first floor quite considerably. But we have tried to stay in a very similar style to the house that we're removing. If you look at the materials list, we'll be using a pre-dipped cedar shingle, a light gray. We'll be using a carriage house style garage door, an Anderson Woodwright series window, and an dark gray blackish roof shingle. And you can also see the doors that we're using there. And I'm not sure if Don wants to add anything to that.
No, all sounds good, Jenny. Thank you.
Okay.
We also, I guess I will add one thing. We went through conservation last month, and one small issue with the property is there is a small conservation issue on the property. And that was another small reason as far as we're moving the house further from the isolated wetland on the property, which made them happy. The foundation has got a couple of small issues as well. And to be able to move the house away from that isolated wetland area made them happy as well. So that's kind of in a nutshell, the reason why we decided what we did.
Okay. Can we have some committee comments regarding this application?
There's two things that I always question. One is Juliet balconies. They're pretty much useless because they're not big enough to sit out on usually. And they, because of the weather, they're only used maybe a month in the year, and that's July or August. It's one thing to have a large window or a large pair or more of windows to highlight a master bedroom, for instance, a bay window with a seat as part of the projected bay. That works an awful lot more for interior use rather than a Juliet balcony. And unless you have a very specific reason for that Juliet balcony, I don't see any sense in them. I also don't see any sense in pinching exit from a sliding door to a single width staircase. It works an awful lot better when you have a full deck and you do have a full deck, and a double wide staircase works an awful lot better for circulation in and out of the house. Those little things are rather small criticisms, but they affect the use of the house constantly. You've got a full second floor balcony in the rear, I guess that is. Is that, how deep is that balcony as opposed to the Juliet, the full balcony over the sliders?
If you can go to, I can go to
that's
the
the
plan
lower
and
floor.
measure. I think it's on the floor plan. It says the depth of it. Hold on.
Can you put a recliner out there?
Yes.
I believe it's a minimum of 10 feet. If not, it's
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, and that's over
Yeah.
a deck on the first floor.
Yeah, it's 10 feet by it's 16'1" by 11 feet.
Okay, so that has a second floor that has a good useful area, which is important. And the first floor is the same size, I would imagine.
Yes.
Okay, that could
yeah.
be bigger, but yeah. All right. Those seem to work rather well. I don't think I have any other comments. Do we make the roof pitches? What is the minimum? You have dormers. What are those? 3 and 12?
There are 4 and 12 on the garage.
Yeah.
And the side elevation, I
Yeah.
believe they're the same on the side elevation.
Yeah. 4 and 12 looks a little
Yeah.
less. Uh-huh.
I'm opening up the AutoCAD drawing now so I can tell you.
Yeah. I still draw with a pencil.
I drew with a pencil for the first 8 years and I loved it.
Yeah, well, my attitude is I'd rather think about what I'm drawing than how I'm drawing. So I've never learned well, I've used the computer, but it's not my favorite way to draw. So anyway, I see where you've got those dormers below the ridge.
Yes.
Yeah. I like doing that. I frame through to the 4-pitch rather than, and when you have dormers on both sides, that is the roof, and then you fake the higher ridge.
Yeah, I do exactly the same thing.
Yeah, it makes for a lot stronger structure. Okay. I have no further questions or comments. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, George. Wendy, would you like to comment?
Yeah, so first on the demolition. So I've been down Sandy Neck Road many times, went down there a couple times recently. And that road has like primarily smaller cottages on it. You know, there are a few probably more medium-sized houses. And I think this is actually one of the more charming houses on the road. So for me, that's a little bit concerning. I think the new house is really large, like really large. And it's in a very prominent location. And I find like the footprint of the house is a little bit concerning, just size wise. Can you tell us like the square footage difference between the existing structure and the new one? I think it was on one of the new one is like 6,000 maybe.
Oh,
I'm not sure if I'm comparing apples to apples, so.
I believe you,
The new one is 4,000 for finished space. It's, I can tell you what the footprint is, but the total finished square foot area is 4,100 square feet.
Right. And then the
So
garage adds like another 2,000 almost, I think, right? Unfinished.
unfinished.
And what was the original house?
Um,
2,000 maybe?
I can do the area for you real quick right now. It's more, I believe it's more than 2,000, but I'm doing it right now.
Okay.
The area of the footprint, hold on, I'm just adding it up.
well, it does have a door on the back. So there is a second floor at 3/4.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think also, can we, Erica, can you pull up the site plan?
It's the first floor is 2,087 square feet. That doesn't include the second floor yet. So that includes the existing garage, which is a separate building. And then there's an existing second floor over both. So for another 481 square feet there. So it's plus 573. It's 3,141.
Yeah.
That includes the garage, which is adjacent and also has space above it.
Right. So I think it's almost double the square foot. So, you know, you can see here like the footprint in the pink. Yeah. It's
Right.
really, I don't know, in my view, I think it's really large. You know, I would prefer to see the existing house kind of tweaked to your liking. I just feel like, you know, in the neighborhood and given the other homes around it, I just think the new structure's too big. It's just, you know, I think the materials, everything else is fine, but it's large.
Okay. Ryan, what are your comments regarding this new build?
I mean, I don't disagree. It's large. However, I feel like the design being put forward is tasteful for the property. My observation at Sandy Neck Road is you have a few houses that have been knocked down, rebuilt, or built in the last decade or so that they're big. The just from my own curiosity, the existing structure, is it too small? Is it beyond saving? I think you mentioned it might have been beyond saving.
There's a lot of work that had to be done to the inside of the existing structure, which makes it more cost prohibitive sometimes to redo it than it is to
I understand.
rebuild. And we've tried to minimize the impact to the street by locating it in a similar direction to what the existing house is now. So we're not putting the, you know, so we're trying to keep it and also to Don's point, move it farther away from the wetlands, which is a you know, is a helpful impact to the conservation area as well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I look at this as really the biggest change is instead of having that gap between the garage and the with the existing garage and the existing structure. Now we're connected, right? I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
it's
So we
basic-
didn't, like,
the
we didn't
same
want to
floor.
make a big house that's facing the street that's,
Yeah,
you know, that's pushed as far forward as it can. We tried to be sympathetic to the location and how it sits on the site right now because it keeps a similar feel. And if anything, it's set back a little bit farther because that one car garage is even closer to the street than what we are right now.
You have a
Yeah.
neighborhood plan? Do we have a neighborhood plan to show how this house is in relation to the others in the neighborhood? As I recall, this is a lollipop street.
What does that mean, George? Lollipop? What do you mean by that?
Cul-de-sac. A dead
No.
end.
Well, down at Sandy, it goes right down to the beach parking lot.
Right.
Yeah, but okay, it's on Sandy Neck Road. Okay.
Yeah, it's right on Sandy Neck Road. Yeah,
Right.
The development I'm thinking of is at the top of the hill overlooking Sandy Neck,
correct.
and that's the lollipop.
Yeah, yeah. This one is right on Sandy Neck Road.
Sandy Point, I think you mean, huh?
Yeah.
yeah. If you're heading down to the beach
Yeah.
on the right-hand side,
Yeah,
Yeah, there's some bigger houses in there.
and it's high.
right?
Yes,
yeah,
it
I
is.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like those houses to that point, like they sort of dominate the area. My eyes always look over there.
Yes. Yeah. Because it's on east, it's on north and south side of a single street. There's no neighbors that have their view blocked by a house by this house. There's nothing behind it. But this one is on the other side of the road.
Well, this house happens to be in Barnstable. The other side of the street is Sandwich.
Yeah, right.
Leslie, do you have comments regarding this?
Yeah, I like the look of it, the materials, everything, but I'm kind of not siding, but I understand what Wendy is saying. I took a drive down, I have friends on Sandy Point, so I know that area. And the houses around are more modest, let me put it that way. This will be big. I understand the conservation, that's very important. And you don't want your basement flooding all the time. So I would do the same thing and push it up towards the street. I guess I'm just kind of worried about the size of it in comparison to the houses right around it. But I think the house is lovely. I have no qualms with that and the materials and all. It's just too bad you couldn't knock off one of the garages.
Well, and I think that was to just speak to that. It was kind of why we tried to orient it the way we did and keep it the way it was. And it is set back a little bit farther from the street. So instead of, you know, Don and the engineer actually have spent a lot of time on the location of the house, moving it forward and backward and manipulating it to try to be very thoughtful to that and to the conservation area as well. So
Right.
that you're not seeing it as one big mass as you drive in, but it has some movement to it, and then creating it with dormers. So you have the roof pitch that comes down that kind of helps to bring your eye line down some instead of having like a full 2-story roof on the front of the house. You know, there are some spaces on the back of the house where we have more of that full 2-story, but on the front of the house, we're trying to use dormers and roof lines to bring your eye line down to minimize that a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many of you
All right.
remember the house on the lollipop where we did away with sliders? The whole back of the house was practically glass, and they came in and asked that for permission to reduce all that glass area. You remember that? it can be excessive, and that proves the
Right.
point. So I'm glad to see that we don't have an awful lot of that, especially in the front of the house. Thank you.
This is Bette McCarthy, and I'd like to make some comments. I think it's a large mass of this house, and I think particularly the 3-car garage with 2 stories, I think the house is so much larger than what's presently there. And I do not believe that it totally fits in that neighborhood, particularly if it was just the existing part of the house, but by adding the 3-car garage, which is 2 stories, it really makes it the mass very large.
Yeah.
And I know you have the ground is all marked out because of the conservation area. And then the house is all concentrated in that upper area. And I do not particularly think that the size of the garage is appropriate. So those are my comments.
What is the second floor of the garage area, please?
It's unfinished.
Unfinished.
Yep.
So at the present time, there's no purpose for it.
Well, I don't know, Don, if you want to speak to the purpose of how you would like to use the space, because I know you use it somewhat for, from working on things too. So even
Storage.
though it's unfinished, there
Yeah.
might be storage for things that they're going to use.
If we went back to the surrounding properties, the property abutting us off to the side is probably a 6,000 square foot house. There's a 4,000 square foot house plus on Leonard Road. This house right here, parcel number 136025. It's a relatively brand new house. It's been built within the last 10 years. And then Joseph Gill, 136026, he's abutting us as well. The main house there is probably 3,500, and then he also has a 3-car garage detached from the house.
Yeah.
And then right across the street, if you go down Leonard Road, just a ways, the first house on the corner, relatively brand new, it's probably 3,000 square foot, and the house right next door to it is almost 4,000 square feet. Again, not exactly on Sandy Neck Road, and I do understand. It's a house that my wife and I spent a lot of time and effort. We've been working with Jenny for almost 2 years on the piece.
Wish I had her.
I run a turbine engine shop in Hyannis. I'm a very mechanically kind of guy. A garage is important to me. Parking vehicles inside the garage. I do work in there and potentially maybe an in-law apartment upstairs, or maybe something along them lines. For the time being, to have the space available for the future was rather important to us, I guess.
What about detaching that garage? Would that, it's just like all connected. It's such a big structure. I don't know if it might be better if it was detached and it would look more like a barn. But
we had looked at that too, and some of it came down to function too, because as they age in place, being able to go from the house to the garage, because they're looking at this as a retirement home too, that not having to go outside to go into the garage in bad weather allows them to, it might not impact them right now, but 20 years from now might be a different story. And they're looking at this as their last build.
Yeah, the current home that we have now is a detached garage. And I do like that option. And for the reasons Jenny said was the reasons why we decided to do what we did.
yeah. Yeah, I appreciate it. And I know, some of the neighbors behind you have big homes. I drove back by there as well. But again, that's not on Sandy Neck Road. There are a lot of very small cottages. And I agree with Ben. I just think it's too big. That's just my opinion. I just think it's too big. So,
All right.
Can we
All
see that
right.
elevation again? That's a 2 stories all the way across, right? It is. Can you do a 1-story connection to the carriage house?
We could, but we do have a bathroom and walk-in closet upstairs above that, so it would mean changing that bedroom space right now.
Well, the house is one thing. The connector is here again. There's a lot of New Hampshire houses like this where they've actually brought second houses onto the site. And the connector is usually, according to the formula, you have the main house and then you have the secondary connection, which is usually the kitchen wing. And then you have a single story connector, which is usually the woodshed. And then you go to the barn. And that's an accepted progression from the main house to the barn. And the single story connection between the kitchen and the barn is appropriately limited to the idea of a space that's sometimes unheated, but always just a passageway rather than butting that garage hard up against the 2-story house.
So
Is
would
this
you
something
be-
you can consider?
Would you be, I just want to clarify to make sure I understand, would you be saying adding an additional connector in between the house as it is? Or would you be saying taking the second floor over the connector piece off right now and making it 1 story?
Well, it looks to me in this elevation as if you have a 2-story house with a full dormer front,
Mm-hmm.
put it up against the garage.
Yeah.
Now I understand that the garage is open on the other side, but if you were to if you were to separate those with a connector that was a single story, the general mass of the house and the barn wouldn't read as quite as large.
Yeah. I was gonna say,
and the
can,
fact that you have them set back or offset also works in your favor on that.
yeah, I was gonna say, Erica, can you go to the full sheet so we can look at the connector piece? Cause I'm not sure if the
I think
other
that'll actually increase the footprint.
that's what I was wondering. Because I just wanted to look at the sheet that shows the front elevation, but the whole sheet, because I think it shows the front elevation and then that right side elevation. So if you look below that, because all I can see is the front, then so the connector piece right now is where the 2 windows are that set back.
Yeah.
Would you be saying in between that connector piece and the garage, putting a 1-story connector and pushing the garage over to the right a little bit more?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
I just wanted
basically
to
what
make
it's
sure
like.
I knew what, yeah, I just wanted to make sure that I was clear.
Well, what it does is diminish the overall mass by separating it to 2 separate masses: the house and then the barn. And it's like having the barn as a separate building, but the connector is going to serve 2 purposes. One, it provides you with a separate entrance into the backside of the house, and it also provides for that visual separation. It doesn't have to be terribly large. It just has to be appropriately scaled so that the space between the dormer on the house and the second floor of the barn is scaled, I'm guessing, about the same as your lean-to addition in
Okay.
the space above. So what's that? That's going to be about 12 feet,
Yeah,
about something
yeah,
like that.
12 feet, yep.
10 to 12 feet would separate those two spaces. And I think if you were to just overlay it and spread it, you get a sense of what it looks like easily. Of course, with me, I'd have to erase the barn and move it over. Either that or cut the page in half and glue it back together. Here again, drawing with a pencil. But with the computer, it's so easy to move that over, and you can play around with addition in between a number of different ways without spending a lot of time on it.
Okay, have we pretty much completed the committee comment?
Can I just ask something? What is
Yes,
the size of the garage? Like, it looks like an extension, the third garage. What's
It's 12 feet. It's
Wow.
12 feet wide, sorry.
12 by 12 or?
No, it is. It's still another garage bay, so it's 12 by 24.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
I have a
is-
barn that size, so I know exactly. Well, I'm just wondering if you, I know Don wants a workshop, and that's probably what he'll use, is that one. Ugh. I know, I feel bad. I was wondering if we could just get rid of that one. I think it would put a whole new lease on the house, but that's part of what he wants if he wants to work on his cars or whatever, and I see his point with that.
And I don't know how Don feels, but I like George's suggestion even better, because I think when you look at the massing of the barn, having the 1-story garage on the right-hand side helps to kind of bring down the scale of the house, because it kind of brings the eye line back down again, which the sunroom I don't mind, because it kind of does the same thing. And I don't know if the book, because I've read the book Big House, Back House, Little House, Barn, and I don't know if that's what George is referring to. But
yeah, I am, because
yes,
that's a typical New Hampshire
New
separate
England,
the house and the
yep.
barn, so that you don't have to go outside to go see the cows and hay the horses.
Yeah, so it's the idea that,
Call it a breezeway.
Well,
yeah,
sometimes if it's a woodshed, then it's at grade, so that you don't have a problem with. I've seen some where it was a drive-through to get to the other side of the yard, and they had solid panels that separated it, so it became a woodshed during the winter. But during the summer, it became a breezeway where you could drive
Right.
through. So there's all kinds of uses for it, but it's just that, the space that I'm talking about. You're right. It is
Right.
big house, little house.
the only thing that I
Um,
don't know is, and because I haven't been able to look at it, is how it impacts the site in relation
Well-
to conservation or setbacks.
Well, I think the conservation is below that from where I've seen the
Yeah.
stake. So this is on the north side of the property,
Yes.
or no, it's the south side. So, do we have any public comments? Is there anybody in the waiting room to discuss this?
Chair, this is Erica Brown. I don't see anyone wishing to speak to this application at this time.
All right. I believe we need to have a continuation on this, the new build, perhaps. We
Can I
can break
ask
this.
one question before we go? Would George's comments alleviate other people's feelings on this? Because I know some people had concerns about the scale of the footprint, and it's making the footprint larger. So that's my only question.
Well, I think we need to see a new layout. We need to see a new drawing before we can make a decision. At least
Okay.
that's how I feel regarding this application. I
I,
think you need to come back and show us a new drawing.
Okay.
Now, should we continue both the demolition and the new build?
This is Kate Maldonado.
2
You can
weeks?
continue the item in general, yeah, I guess when you make the motion, just say the certificate of appropriateness and demolition, unless the committee wants to make a motion on.
Just
I
doing
would
both,
continue
combine it?
I would continue both because we opened one public hearing for this item. So if you feel
Okay.
that you need more time and or information, I would recommend continuing the demolition and their certificate of appropriateness to a time, date, and location certain.
Is the 2 weeks enough time?
Yes.
Okay.
can I ask a question so
Go.
that I can understand? And I guess what I'm asking here is, we have a 2-story, call it an addition, between the main house and the garage. Do you want us to extend
Yeah.
that? You want
Yeah.
to extend that to make it larger?
Want to extend that as a single story?
Okay,
To take it away, but extend that that structure as a single story between what you have now. In other words, cut it at that point, spread it, and stick it in a single story,
so that's
which is your connecting walkthrough.
that's going to add to the footprint of the entire structure, more square footage, and it's going to actually increase the conservation impact of the building because it is within the 100-foot boundary. So now there's going to be more land given back to conservation with an increased size of the structure.
Can we get rid of it? I mean, that's the other option, right? It's not
Well,
have a connector.
You're building on land that is not covered by conservation, are you not?
It is. There's a 100-foot boundary, and the 100-foot boundary is right on the edge of the garage. So moving the garage back is fine, but if you're adding more property, if you're adding more building to it and stuff like that, if you look at the
Length it would be. It would go into the conservation because it would be longer.
Where's the conservation line? I don't see it.
it's the green arcs, the 2 arcs.
I don't have color here. Let me see. The green line.
So there's two arcs. The first arc is a 50-foot arc. The second arc is a 100-foot arc. So we're right on that 100-foot arc. But we also have a setback off the edge of the property, which currently we're at 24 feet. So I don't know if you're looking to add, I'm not exactly sure. I can't remember what the setback was. I thought it was 15 feet possibly.
Likely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's likely 15 feet.
Okay.
How far are you there?
Okay.
I think ultimately, I would ask the homeowner, is that what you want? Do you want a single story connector?
I'm opposed to it, to be honest with you.
So I think I can imagine what the interior would look like and how everything's going to connect. And I think that any future work above the proposed garage, like, I mean, you're kind of cutting yourself off.
Right.
I don't disagree.
But we still have the problem of a big structure there, you know?
Right.
I guess I'm just trying to understand. I mean, by the property size, it is just over an acre property. And I mean, it's not like it's a 10,000 square foot piece of a building or something along them lines. I mean, there's a lot of fairly large houses in the area, also in the historic area as well.
Could
How
I
about
ask
the
one
opinion
other
that-
question, just on the design and, if we went to the front elevation, and I don't know how Don would feel about this because we haven't gotten to talk about it, but what if we dropped the roof line of the garage So that was more of a full dormer. You know, so that 10 pitch dropped down to be more even with the eave of the connector piece, so it felt lower, you know, so that, and then those windows were, you know, could be bigger windows, or it wouldn't really impact the use of the space up above, but it would bring your eye line down some. I don't know if that would make anybody feel better.
Well, I don't know if it's the height of it or the length of it that is making it
Mm,
seem bigger. That's the
Yeah.
problem. To me,
Yep.
it's the length of it. I like the lines that it is now. I wish you could knock that last garage off, but other than that, you know, it kind of looks nice with that roof line.
Yeah, I think I agree with Leslie. I mean, I like the way it looks right now. I get it's big, but there are big houses in that neighborhood. Sandy Neck Road is not a scenic road. It's in the district, but it's not a designated scenic road.
And I think, to your point, we did try to look, even if it's not right on the street, at adjacent properties, to what Don said when we were trying to think of its appropriateness, because it's not a historic property, but it is in a historic area. And we wanted to be able to relate the size and the massing to other houses that are nearby. We didn't pick the houses exactly adjacent to it, but there are ones that are, well, that are adjacent to it, but may not be on that street, that are of a similar scale and size to this house. So we
Mhm.
weren't trying to put a 6,000 square foot house where a 4,000 square foot house was, without being thoughtful to how we were orienting it, how we were doing the massing and moving things back and forth, and the movement of the house also.
Yeah. I think the challenge, though, is that, you know, Sandy Neck Road is the main way, the main thoroughfare there.
Right.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
other ones are side streets, and this road is much more heavily traveled, arguably, than the other ones. And you know, Ryan, you said there's a lot of big houses on Sandy Neck. I didn't see a lot of big ones. I saw a lot of small, medium, maybe. This would definitely be probably the largest one on Sandy Neck Road. I mean, I don't know, there may be some that are hidden back that I didn't see, but I just feel like it's too big as is.
Right.
Compared to what's there. And I think what's there right now is more in line with the other properties that you see on that main thoroughfare, you know, small. I mean, if you look at the map, there's that one kind of closer to Sandy Neck that's just a tiny little cottage. So this
Right.
is just kind of changing, I think, you know, the feel of the road.
You
And-
see that floor plan.
See that? Yeah, on the right
And,
side, it's just a tiny little thing.
and this
I
is
don't
Beth McCarthy. I happen to agree with what Wendy has said.
Yeah.
And I just think this house, as it is proposed, the mass is just much too large. And I think it needs to be reconfigured.
Okay. The only other thing I was asking is there a way that might be acceptable without increasing the footprint size of the house? Because I know Don has an objection to doing that. Is there, and that's why I was asking about dropping the roof line, you know, is there, and I understand how you feel about it. And certainly I'm happy to do any drawings to help alleviate the feelings of the committee. But is there any way that you would consider that doesn't increase the square footage of the house?
Is
Can
there
I-
any place that kind of third garage bay could be moved somewhere else on that barn? So you
That's
don't
what
see-
I'm thinking, yes. Because 12 by 24, that's just, doesn't seem like a lot, but it adds, and also when you look at it, your eye goes to that. And
Yeah,
Dawn, I understand you want to, and I understand you want a place to work with a workshop. I understand that. My dad had one, I understand it. but that and your eye goes down, that bothers me. I wish we could get rid of it or put
Yeah.
it in the back or do something with it.
Well, and in addition, it's the connection
Yeah.
from the main house to the garage
I agree.
that also increases the mass.
Yeah.
And
I've
Is
got
that
another
the
idea.
one with the 2 windows up top and,
Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
let me
Yeah.
ask, Don,
Yeah.
how would you feel if that second floor of the connector attached to the carriage house was a dormered section rather than a full second floor? Suppose there were doghouse dormers where the windows are, and it was,
all right,
instead of having
right.
a full 2-story elevation, suppose you had 1 story with the second floor ridge matching, but dormers instead of that shed dormer look or the 2-story look.
Well, I think we're trying to redesign the house for them, and I think it's up to the homeowner to come back to us with a different configuration. And I believe we need to continue this application to our next meeting.
Okay.
Yep. Brian, hello. We caught you looking at that.
No,
So we need a motion to do that.
Okay. So this is Wendy Shuck, and I move to continue the certificate of appropriateness application and the certificate of demolition application for Triple C Realty LLC, 350 Sandy Neck Road, West Barnstable, map 136, parcel 014/002, built 1965 to January 4th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m., meeting to be held remotely.
January 24th.
24th.
Right. I got it right this time, right, Kate? I hope.
All right.
24th, but I think everyone's clear.
24th, yeah.
And then we
And do
just,
we have a second?
Leslie Wallace, I'll second.
Thank you. And a roll call vote. George Jessup,
Aye.
Leslie Wallace,
Aye.
Ryan Caholen,
nay.
Wendy Shuck,
Aye.
You don't want to
Pat
continue.
McCarthy. Aye. So we now have another application for us to consider.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you,
very
Jennifer.
much.
Thank you, Donald. Yep. Thank you.
And this is for Linnea and Matthew Freitas, 140 Crocker Road, West Barnstable, map 110, parcels 024, built in 1988, to convert the garage to a living space and to construct a front porch with a false gable above. May we open the public hearing section for this application?
I
Yes.
move we open a public hearing on this application.
Wendy
Thank
Shuck,
you.
I'll second.
All right, and a roll call vote. George Jessup,
Aye.
Leslie Wallace,
Aye.
Ryan Caholen,
Aye.
Wendy Shuck,
Aye.
and Beth McCarthy. Aye. So would the applicant like to discuss their project?
Sure. Hi, evening, folks. My name's Andrew Prelick. I'm a general contractor in West Barnstable. I'll be presenting for Matt and Linnea tonight. They are here, but they're probably just gonna be quiet. A lot less meat on this than the last application, so it shouldn't be too complicated. The existing cape that they live in was built in 1988, and it looks like it was a cape built in 1988. They're a young couple, and they're hoping to gain some extra footage out of their first floor, get a laundry up there, etc. They've got a beautiful black lab that could use a better way to get into the house without making a mess of the main home. So the proposal is, if you look at the existing, there is a small gable above a arched window, Palladian window. Basically extending that gable to a much larger layover gable that presents forward of the house 5 feet and gives them a little deck area. And then eliminating the garage door and adding a second layover gable there with a set of doors that lets them come in and utilize that space differently.
Are you going to match the existing first floor in the garage?
Yes, we are. There will be a step down. We're gonna have to step down somewhere, but we're gonna come out of the house at that same level and then step down. We're gonna gain 2 steps up from, we'll have a step up into that kind of bluestone patio area. We'll then have another step up into the floor area. There will have to be a 3rd step transitioning into the house somewhere, but we're gonna come out into the that mudroom area, level and then step down.
Why not start your gable for that garage door replacement at the plate height of the main house?
I think we just wanted to minimize steps going in from the outside.
No, it's, I think you should bring the grade up. Because what you're dealing with is a slab on grade.
Yep,
You're not going to tear out the slab on grade, you're going to build over it.
correct.
Right, so start with a level floor rather than, in other words, bring it up to what you have now for the existing floor. Start your gable where your existing eave is. In other words, I know you have a projection there. Well, I'd use that as part of it. Bring that gable up to that point rather than, and run it full width on your new addition, rather than starting at some point in between. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think that would help balance that elevation because right now it tips to the right. It looks like it's dragging along. It also gives you much better space for structure between the slab and your finished floor, which you're going to have to insulate, and you might ventilate it as well, because I know very well the building department's going to say you need to ventilate. Anyway, it gets it up. I've done a few of these. It gets that first floor up level and warm, and it gives you much higher window height, door height, matching your existing floor and your existing doors and windows. I'd bring the grade up. I wouldn't be too concerned about getting in and out at that elevation. Bringing the grade up would also help with your drainage around the house, because the garage you don't too much care about, but the rest of the house, residential area, you do care. So I think that's what I would do with this. I don't see the other elevations, just the front. Is that the only place you're making any changes?
Yes.
Okay. You see where you have the wall plate in the back of the garage?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd bring that up to match the front. Bring the front up to match it. And that way your windows fit and everything. Just, I think it works better for you. And that's my limitation here. You're not going to change anything in the side elevation, the right side?
Correct.
No additional windows?
No.
This is a bedroom area?
The side of the garage that we're looking at right now?
Yeah.
No, that's going to be a mudroom, half bath, and a laundry room.
Oh, you're going to have more than that in that much space, aren't you? The whole garage area is going to be just a mudroom area?
Whole garage, yeah, the front of it is...
It's about 12 feet wide.
The first 12
feet
by, probably 12 by 9 is proposed mudroom. And then it goes into the connector to the house. That's where the kitchen comes out. Then we have a half bath lav and a laundry to the back.
I'm looking at that garage area and I don't see any revisions there.
No, this is the existing. There's a proposed.
Okay, what are you going to do with the garage area? That's how it's going to affect the front.
There we go.
Oh, I see what you're doing.
He's changing the garage into a
So,
room.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd still like to see it elevated. You're gonna have to run piping. Be concerned about that.
Yeah, I don't think
Get it up level with the existing floor.
Building code would
Yeah.
require that it be R30 in that floor system.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that that's too precious, that, you know, any of those opinions would be objectionable to Matt or Linnea, certainly not to me.
Okay.
How is that handled with this evening, however? Is that also a continuance, or is that something that is?
Well, we'd kind of like to see how it's going to work, and I think you'd want to see how it's going to work, so that there's no doubt about the revisions. Looking at that projected porch, that's a new roof line there,
It is.
and that's why I think that's appropriate. How many posts do you show? Just 2?
Yes.
You might consider a 3rd post. The area at the front entrance, which is not the mudroom, but the main door at the staircase. You need to do something there. Maybe a center post.
Why is that? Why are you saying that?
Well, I know you don't need the structure. I'm looking at it with the idea that you need something that focuses your attention on the entrance rather than the blank space in between. And if you put a post in there, then you divide your attention between the entrance door and the window. How are you going to use that porch?
I have no idea. They'll probably throw a couple of chairs out there and just enjoy an evening.
If it's just an area in between, well, here we go. I don't need to redesign it for you. But what I would look at and say, okay, can we use that double window there as a projection and have a recessed entrance, so that your focus is fully on the entrance rather than the space in between.
So right now, currently that wall isn't changing. Currently the wall that door and window go on exists and is staying at that plane. The only thing that's happening, that roof's coming out 5 feet with a porch under it.
There's nothing else happening there.
You
And the
put
door,
you put a third column there.
what
5 feet isn't very wide, so a third column is just going to be an encumbrance. I understand what you're saying, design-wise, balance-wise, but you know, in practical terms, it's just going to be something that they have to get around to use that porch.
Did you say it's only 5 feet, like between the posts? Is that
No,
right?
5 feet from the house.
Oh,
facing
from the house. Oh, okay.
the
So say,
door.
wow, that's small.
And the window because that was kind of bothering me, but I noticed in the other plan, that's the kitchen window.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So George, your suggestion, just so that I understand, so that the gable over to the right would be brought up to be, so the bottom of that gable would be in line
Yes.
with the gable where the front
Yes.
door is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and widen it so that you start it
Yeah,
at the outside wall rather than putting a porch type roof on it. All you need is to start at that point, and if you want to bring it forward more, you can. But by starting it at that point, you make it a continuation of the line of that center section instead of a drop off.
right.
Right.
And the other
visualize it,
side is the same.
Yeah.
It'll match it up to the other side.
Right.
I think that would look good.
And it's, there's a demolition going on at that point. And by raising the wall plate, instead of having it rated or related to the garage door, it's related to the wall. And that gives you more than enough space for the insulation of the floor and the piping that's going to be there because of the bathroom and the laundry, and getting it into the main house so that you don't have to break the slab. And if you have to ventilate between the insulation of the new floor and the concrete slab, then there's some space to do that. By raising the grade, it provides for entrance at that point at the existing floor level, but it also provides for drainage away from the house, which is critical. Because the garage floor is usually not more than 4 inches above grade. And, you know, if you have a snowstorm that puts a foot of snow in there, now you have a problem. So raising it and raising the grade, you simulate what's on the left-hand side. As a matter of fact, I'd carry the grade all the way across the front, just as it is on the left side.
Yeah.
Little things, but it makes a big difference in the overall function of the house as well as the appearance. Now, the back plate is level with the main house plate, so you would have even ceiling height throughout. Yeah, you see there. See the height of that plate on the back where the roof meets the wall? Carry that to the front and you see what you have. The ridge is still well below the existing ridge on that extension, but it because the roof is level with the existing back wall plate, then you don't have the problem of ventilation underneath. You don't have the problem of entrance there. Raise the grade and you don't have a problem of drainage. So,
Okay, any other comments regarding this property?
Well,
Ryan?
how are we leaving it? We haven't asked, what do the owners think?
well, I think as far as raising that gable end, right?
Yeah,
So should we continue and then take a look at what they're able to come back with, see if this is all doable for
Yeah.
them?
I gotta be honest, I have to ask the homeowner, do you want to do that? The neighborhood is like a patchwork neighborhood to begin with. Every house there looks different. This house is kind of hidden behind a screen of trees.
There's no trees in our front yard.
I would just add that, I mean, there is a cost associated with it, right? Like, so whether or not you agree with it aesthetically, there is a different construction process that's going to be necessitated. All of that is, you know, accompanied with a cost. I don't think that any of the suggestions are bad suggestions. I just wonder if they warrant,
Or
you know.
what we're gaining actually by raising that front step. I understand with the grade levels, it all makes sense. As far as the piping and the plumbing, the bathroom and the mudroom laundry are all to the back in line with the kitchen, which
Is this
it
first
should
floor.
all be up high enough to get any existing piping and electrical out there. The only thing that I would be concerned with is like the insulation, like you said, but
we can get R30
there are
out
ways
of a closed cell or a flash and bat or a,
right,
you know, getting
ways to minimize the floor system with a better insulation. I'm not opposed to moving that up and having to do that if we do. Visually, it's still not going to make it look any better, I don't think, to change it for that aspect of it. Because as it sits now, that's how the garage roof is always laid, because it comes out from the front of the house an extra 3 feet from the front line of the actual kitchen wall, if you will.
Yeah.
So
That's with your floor at 4 inches above grade, the driveway level.
right.
It's or less than 4 inches.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there. Below the grade, right.
Yeah, and what you want to do is fill in the masonry to bring your grade up, and you're going to have your porch level with the existing front step, and your interior floor is going to match your existing interior floor instead of a step down.
Yeah, the step down wouldn't transition until outside the mudroom area. But, I mean,
Well, the step down has to be the existing floor level plus just the framing. And what you really want to do is frame level with the existing floor framing, so that when you try to put the piping over the concrete slab that you have and the concrete wall that's inside, you don't have to rip a hole through that concrete wall to run your pipe from your proposed plumbing to tie into the existing plumbing.
we already have all those clearances to make it out underneath that flooring without going into the
Where are
into
you
the
going
slab.
out? You're going into your
Into
existing
the
house.
existing basement. There's a 3-inch. I'm actually the licensed plumber. There's a pipe below there that is feeding the existing laundry and second floor bath that can be drilled through at a height below the floor, but also above the concrete to extend over to the new toilet and bath area.
Well, this is a problem that you've got to work out. What we've done is offer our alternate appearance on the front to raise that
Yeah,
cable end on the end there by extending the front projection at the same level, and raising the entrance door and the side panels, and then filling in the masonry wall where your garage door is to bring it up to the existing wall plate.
Right.
Yeah. And that provides you with the proper increase in grade height, so that you don't have a problem of water infiltration. So that's why you want to do that with these garage conversions.
Is it a requirement to bring it up to grade, or is it just wanting to please, like, what the historics are going to want to, you're going to want to see? I mean, because visually,
you don't have to. You don't.
It's going to look better than what's here, and we're just trying to like improve the front entryway. You know, like you said, Ryan had said earlier, everything in this neighborhood is different style houses. I mean, they're all over the place. There's salt boxes, you know.
Yeah, there are.
Yeah, I think the area we're talking about, it's going to be 80 to 100 feet away from the street.
Yeah.
And most traffic.
It's at a weird angle lot, you know, and
Triangle. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a strange lot, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
On a cul-de-sac.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I think it's an improvement to the house. I think it will definitely make it look better. Do I think George's ideas would be, you know, an added improvement? Probably, but I completely agree. It is a very eclectic neighborhood with all kinds of different style homes. And I think certainly what you presented is an improvement over, you know, visually what you have in right now. So,
okay.
Yeah. Now, if you guys want to go back and talk about it and figure out, you know, I don't know, I mean, cost has got to be an issue here.
The costs, obviously, I mean, we're not trying to like spend everything, but we want to do it in what makes sense, you know?
Yeah.
So if we're, you know,
Oh, all right. So are you willing for us to continue this and to come back to our next meeting?
We have to, I guess, if we're gonna have to redraw.
No, what do you want to do?
I'd like to keep it as it is. I don't think that the grade is an issue. I mean, there's other things you can do to make it work. As far as what we've figured on site and what can be done, everything's doable as we have it drawn. And, you know, as our driveway comes in now, you know, after we finish these renovations, we also have plans to do a detached style garage that would transition the grade. Probably would want to maintain that grade with the existing garage rather than be up. Then we'd have to bring everything up on that whole side, so.
Yeah.
Well, if you're
That's a whole
happy
different-
with this and it does look better and it's an improvement and you got to factor in the cost, God knows with this economy, you know, I think if you want to go ahead with it, I'm fine with that.
That would be great.
We'll take a.
But thank you, George. I do like your suggestion,
Yeah,
but with all the considerations. And Matt's got to live there and he's got to be happy with it, so.
Yeah. I think it would be nice transition. I mean, the grades are already at where they're at and we haven't had any issues ever. So with anything like water and stuff like that, plus there'll be drainage work will be
Okay.
taken care of to get that water away from the house through the roof, you know, from the roof.
All right, so to be clear, you want this application to stay the same as what you've originally projected, is that correct?
Correct.
And no change?
No change.
Okay, all right. So in that case, we now need to know if there's anybody of the public in the background wishing to make comments.
Here, this is Erica Brown. There is no one from the public wishing to speak to this item at this time.
Okay, so then we can close the public hearing for this application.
yep. This is Wendy Shuck and I move to close the public hearing.
Okay, and a
Leslie
second.
Wallace, second. Oh, sorry.
And a roll call vote. George Jessup,
Aye.
Leslie
Aye.
Wallace, Ryan Caholen,
Aye.
Wendy Shuck,
Aye.
and Beth McCarthy. So now we need a motion to approve the application as submitted.
Okay, this is Wendy Shuck and I move to approve the certificate of appropriateness application for Matthew and Linnea Freitas, 140 Crocker Road, West Barnstable, map 110, parcel 024, built 1988, as submitted.
And a second,
Leslie Wallace.
all right, and a roll call vote. George Jessup,
Abstain.
Leslie Wallace,
Aye.
Ryan Caholen,
Aye.
Wendy Shuck,
Aye.
Beth McCarthy, aye. So the application is approved as you've submitted that.
Great, thank you,
Thank you.
everybody.
Right, thank
Take
you,
your time.
Okay,
thank you.
we made suggestions, but
And they were great.
it's up to you. Okay,
Sure.
very
Yeah.
good. I do not believe we have any minor modifications tonight. We do not have any extensions. I think the minutes will be ready for the next meeting. They didn't load properly. And our next meeting will be January 24th, and the one after that will be February 14th. So we now need a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Sure, this is Wendy Shuck and I move to adjourn today's meeting Wednesday, January 10th, 2024.
And a second.
I'll
Go
second.
on.
George Jessup, I'll second it.
Okay. And roll call vote. George Jessup,
Aye.
Leslie Wallace,
Aye.
Ryan Caholen,
Aye.
Wendy Shuck,
Aye.
and Beth McCarthy, aye. So thank you all very much.